Jey Uso's journey to WrestleMania 40 can have a lot of twists and turns, and a lot could happen at the 2024 Royal Rumble to impact his road to WrestleMania. At the Day 1 episode of Raw, Seth Rollins is going one-on-one with Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight Championship. During the match, CM Punk comes out to the stage and simply stands at the top of the ramp. Seth gets infuriated by the sight of Punk, that he's distracted long enough that Drew gets up and hits Seth with a Claymore, a Future Shock DDT, and a final Claymore, and wins the World Heavyweight Championship from Seth on Monday Night Raw. Drew has finally taken the one thing away from Seth Rollins and has climbed back to the top as champion. CM Punk simply watches on and smiles at Seth Rollins and walks away. The Men's Royal Rumble is the main event, and Jey Uso has been in the Rumble since number 10. While all this is going on, Jey Uso's story is kind of in flux, not knowing where he's going to be, but every single week he's getting more and more wins on Raw, and he is pushing himself to get into the Royal Rumble match and is telling everybody that he's going to do everything he can to win the thing. As Jey makes it to the final 5, he gets eliminated by Gunther, thwarting his chance to main event WrestleMania. Cody Rhodes ends up winning the Royal Rumble to finish his story against Roman Reigns. The Raw after the Rumble, Drew McIntyre is in the ring and says how no one is on his level. He finally takes what he feels is rightfully his, but he will show everyone why he is a true fighting champion at WrestleMania. He calls on anyone to come out and face him. Adam Pearce comes to the ring and tells Drew that we need to find you true competition, but also that Drew has made a lot of enemies over the last few months. So inside Elimination Chamber in Perth, Australia, it will be a #1 contendership match to determine Drew McIntyre's opponent at WrestleMania 40. The participants will be Seth Rollins, who deserves his shot as a rematch, Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, Damian Priest, Chad Gable, and Jey Uso. Each week leading up to the Chamber, we see Drew facing off against each one of his challengers, and Jey in particular tells WWE in an interview that he needs to beat Drew. He needs to prove why he's main event Jey Uso and show Drew McIntyre that he's not the same Uso from the bloodline. We already saw the match on Monday Night Raw, so Jey has got to do everything he can in this Chamber match to win. At Elimination Chamber, we see Seth Rollins get attacked by CM Punk, costing him his elimination and setting up their WrestleMania match. In the end, Jey Uso and Damian Priest are the final two, and Jey hits 2 super kicks to Priest and gets the win. It will be Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. The lead up to WrestleMania, Drew is sick of Jey Uso. The bloodline costing him everything, costing his family everything. Jey is tired of trying to reason with Drew, tired of telling him why he's not the same man as before. Drew is so focused on his hatred for the bloodline and everything Jey represented that he doesn't care. We see Drew get even more vicious when he takes out his friend Sami Zayn in a brutal attack. At the contract signing for their match, Jey tells Drew that at WrestleMania, he won't hold anything back. He's gonna win the World Heavyweight Championship for all the fans that had his back. He's doing it for Sami, and he's going to prove why he's the main event, Jey Uso. At WrestleMania 40, their match goes back and forth, but Drew is dominant throughout the match. Jey is able to get a splash onto Drew through the announce table. Drew later nails a Claymore to Jey, but Jey kicks out. Drew gets hit with a super kick, but kicks out. It's a 20-minute match. Both men are standing at the opposite corner. They stand up with one last gasp of energy. Drew and Jey run at each other, and Drew goes for the Claymore, but Jey ducks and hits a massive super kick, followed by a huge splash, and gets the win. And Jey Uso is the new World Heavyweight Champion. And now that Jey Uso is the World Heavyweight Champion, he comes out on Monday Night Raw to celebrate, and as he is celebrating with the WWE Universe, Jey is interrupted by one man, Gunther. Gunther is the undisputed Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion. He retained at WrestleMania, but now Gunther is setting his eyes on the World Heavyweight Championship. He tells Jey Uso that he has beaten everybody in the Intercontinental Division. Nobody can defeat him. He's unbeatable. And for Gunther, he needs a new challenge. And so he's coming after Jey and the World Heavyweight Championship at WWE Backlash in France. This match can go one of two ways, where you end up with Jey Uso retaining, or you can have Gunther beat Jey Uso to become a double champion, and then go on to Germany at Bash in Berlin as a double champion. To me, one way you could do it is end the match in France in a double disqualification, or you do it in a last man standing match where both men stay down at the count of 10 and it's a no contest. Some way for Jey to retain the title, but also for Gunther to stay strong, and they could have a rematch at Bash in Berlin. But Jey Uso's story could go another way. Let's back up and rewind for a second. During the Royal Rumble, we get a moment where Jey and Jimmy are finally in the ring together. It's been months since they've seen each other and crossed paths. We get a stare down between the two, but in that moment, they get attacked by Judgment Day during the match. Jimmy and Jey align together as brothers and fight everyone off. In that one moment, it looked like the Usos were back together. Jimmy and Jey hug, and the crowd goes insane. But then Jimmy grabs Jey and throws him out of the Royal Rumble. And Jey can't believe it and leaves in shock. Jimmy later gets eliminated by Cody, who goes on to win the Rumble and faces Roman Reigns. On SmackDown after the Rumble, we see the Bloodline in the ring, and Roman talks about how he will take down Cody once again to become the greatest champion in WWE history. And at that moment, Jey Uso's music hits. Jey comes to the ring and Roman explains how he's got some nerve coming here, but also, you didn't win the Royal Rumble, so you have zero business being here. And Jey says, you're right. I'm not here for you, Roman. I'm here for my brother. Jey and Jimmy stare at each other, and Jey says, we need to settle this once and for all. WrestleMania 40, brother versus brother. The weeks leading to WrestleMania, we're getting Solo and Jimmy attacking Jey, but to even the odds, Sami Zayn comes to the aid of Jey, and at the Elimination Chamber, we get a match fans never got. A tag team match of Jey and Sami versus Solo and Jimmy. At the end of that match, Solo hits multiple spikes to Jey and Sami, and the heels pick up the win. Jimmy playing the sneaky role and letting Solo do all the dirty work. Jey could never get his hands on Jimmy during the match either. With Sami taken out by Solo, Jey is left on his own against his brothers. The weeks leading up to their match, Jimmy is constantly telling Solo to do the work. At their contract signing on SmackDown, both men officially sign off on their match together, and Jimmy tells Solo to attack him. Solo is so fed up with Jimmy telling him what to do, he walks out on Jimmy, and Jimmy is left alone with his twin brother. At WrestleMania 40, it's the two brothers squaring off for the first time ever. No interference, no allies. Jimmy is constantly getting in cheap shots on Jey and trying everything he can to get the upper hand. The two brothers exchange super kicks, and at the end of the match, we see Jimmy on the ground, crawling and begging his brother to take mercy. Jey picks up his brother and looks like he'll forgive him. And in that moment, Jimmy hits Jey with a low blow, but Jey ducks a super kick with one of his own, and Jey Uso gets the win. But Jey's WrestleMania story isn't the only one with huge consequences. Click here to see how Cody Rhodes could finish his story at WrestleMania 40.